Welcome my dear friends. We are starting with a short lecture series and the topic of discussion is complex analysis. Today we will see complex variables. I know that you have already come across complex numbers in your smaller divisions. Complex numbers have a variety of applications in signal processing, control theory, electromagnetism, quantum mechanics, etc. Basically, complex numbers act as a tool for describing and characterizing physical quantities. For example, consider the AC voltage in our homes. It requires two parameters, potential and the angle called the phase. We can use complex numbers a plus ib, that is real plus I into imaginary part, to represent it. Thus, if the voltage V is equal to 0 plus I 120, it means that the voltage has a potential of 120 volts and a phase of 90 degree. Both are physically real. The study of functions of a complex variable is known as complex analysis, and it has enormous practical use in applied mathematics and engineering. Here we will be discussing the analytic and harmonic functions. The functions have applications in mechanical engineering, in fluid flow. If we consider the fluid flow as an incompressible fluid, the complex potential of the flow is an analytic function. We have f of z is equal to phi of xy plus I psi of xy. Here phi of xy and psi of xy are functions of real variables x and y. We call phi as the velocity potential and psi as the stream function. So, here f of z is the complex potential. Also, the Laplace equation dou square phi by dou x square plus dou square phi by dou y square is equal to 0 governs the steady flow, that is the time independent flow. In complex analysis, we see that the real and imaginary parts of an analytic function satisfies the Laplace equation. In control theory, the systems are often transformed from the time domain to the frequency domain using Laplace transforms. Then using complex analysis, the system's zeros and poles are analyzed to find out if the system is stable or unstable. Complex numbers are widely used in computer graphics. This is because any object in a plane can be represented by two coordinates. In this case, x plus iy, or else the coordinate x comma y. X is the real part and y is the imaginary part. That is a complex number. Computer graphics involves rotation, which can be accomplished by multiplying the given complex number, that is the position of an object. X plus iy, you can also represent it as r e raised to I theta, or else a complex number e raised to I alpha if one wants to rotate it through an angle alpha. Now, magnification or contraction. This can be done by multiplying x plus iy by a real number. Again, translation, which can be done by adding a fixed complex number a plus ib to x plus iy. In this module, we study about analytic functions, their mappings and integration. So, before actually starting with the analytic functions, we need to understand some basic definitions. So, we will start with open disks or neighborhoods. The set of all points z which satisfy the inequality mod z minus z naught less than rho, where rho is a positive real number, is called an open disk or neighborhood of z naught. Actually, it means that it is the collection of all points from z naught at a distance of rho. So, since your complex number lies in a two-dimensional plane, you need to move rho distance in all directions. So, what do you get? You get an open disk. So, you can see in the figure the unit disk, that is a neighborhood mod z less than 1, that is actually your standard unit circle. Now what is an interior point? A point z0 in S is called an interior point of S if and only if there exists at least one neighborhood of z0 which is completely contained in S. So you need to have a neighborhood of the point z0 which should be completely in S. In that case, you call z0 as the interior point of S. Now what is an open set and a closed set? If every point of a set S is an interior point of S, we say that S is an open set. So in the real case, your open interval, say if I write open interval 0, 1, it means the set of all points between 0 and 1 excluding the endpoints 0 and 1. Now if B of S is a subset of S, that is if S contains all of its boundary points, then it is called a closed set. You can see in the figure, the first one represents an open set. So it is a collection of all points in the interior. So the boundary points are excluded. When the boundary is also included, you call it a closed set. So you can have sets which may neither be open nor closed. So the last one is an example. Now we will see what is a connected set. An open set S is said to be connected if every pair of points z1 and z2 in S can be joined by a polygonal line that lies entirely in S. Roughly speaking, this means that S consists of a single piece although it may contain holes. So any connected set will look like a sheet, but it can have holes. Now what is a domain, region, closure, bounded set, compact set, etc. So it is almost similar to your definitions in the real analysis. Let us see it again. An open connected set is called a domain. A region is a domain together with some, none or all of its boundary points. The closure of a set S denoted by S closure is the set S together with all of its boundary points. A set of points in S is bounded if there exists a positive real number R such that mod Z less than R for every Z in S. A region which is both closed and bounded is said to be compact. Now let us review the real functions of real variables. I know that you have already dealt with it in real analysis. Let us see the definition. Let gamma be a subset of R. A function f is a rule which assigns to each element A in gamma one and only one element B in omega, where omega is a subset of R. We write f from gamma to omega, or in the specific case you write B is equal to f of A and call B as the image of A under f. We call gamma the domain of definition of f or simply the domain of f, and we call omega as the range of f. We call the set of all images of gamma denoted by f of gamma the image of the function f, or alternately call f a mapping from gamma to omega. So you can see in effect a function of a real variable maps from one real line to another. Now what happens when you deal with complex functions? And here we are discussing complex functions of what? Complex variable. Let phi be a subset of the complex numbers or complex plane. A function f defined on phi is a rule which assigns to each z in phi a complex number w. The number w is called a value of f at z and it is denoted by f of z. That is, in the function notation we write what? W is equal to f of z. The set phi is called the domain of definition of f. Although the domain of definition is often a domain, it need not be. Properties of a real valued function of a real variable are often exhibited by the graph of the function. But when w is equal to f of z, where z and w are both complex, no such convenient graphical representation is available, because each of the numbers z and w is located in a plane rather than a line. As you all know, in order to represent a complex number, you need a two-dimensional plane. So, if you have z is equal to x plus iy, I need a plane which contains x and y as the coordinate axis to represent it. In the same way, your w is also u plus iv, where it has two parameters. Again, you need a two-dimensional plane to represent it. So, we can display some information about the function by indicating pairs of corresponding points z equal to the coordinate x y and w is equal to the coordinate u comma v. To do this, it is usually easiest to draw the z and w planes separately. So, what we are saying is, in order to represent a function w is equal to f of z, you need two planes side by side. One is your z plane, where you will plot your z is equal to x plus iy, and a w plane where you plot w is equal to u plus iv under the rule w is equal to f of z. So, here you can see the graph of a complex function w is equal to f of z. So, here in the z plane you have domain of definition. In the w plane, correspondingly you will have the range, where the set of points in the domain will be mapped in the w plane. So, let us see one example. So, we will quickly understand how do you represent it. So, describe the range of a function f z is equal to x square plus 2i defined on the unit disk mod z less than or equal to 1. So, here if I separate your function u plus iv, what is your u and what is your v? So, your real part is u and the imaginary part is v. So, you get your u of x y as x square, v of x y as 2. Thus, as z varies over the closed unit disk, where does u vary? U varies between 0 and 1 and v is a constant 2. So, therefore, w is equal to f of z, that is u of x y plus I v of x y, which is given as x square plus 2i, is a line segment from w is equal to 2i to w is equal to 1 plus 2i. So, you can see the graph of both the functions. On the left hand side, we have represented your x and y. So, that is the open disk, the closed disk mod z less than or equal to 1, and on the right hand side it is your w plane where you get the image. Now, another example. Describe the function f of z is equal to z cube for z in the semi disk given by mod z less than or equal to 2 and the imaginary part of z greater than or equal to 0. We know that the points in the sector of the semi disk from argument z equal to 0 to argument z is equal to 2 pi by 3. When cubed, cover the entire disk mod w less than or equal to 8, because you know 2 e raised to I 2 pi by 3, the whole cube is what? 8 times e raised to 2 pi I. The cubes of the remaining points of z also fall into this disk, overlapping it in the upper half plane as depicted on the next screen. See the graph. So, this is how your region is mapped from the z plane to the w plane. We will move on to the next definition, which is sequence. So, what is the sequence of a complex numbers? It is nothing but it is similar to your real sequence. Let us see it. A sequence of complex numbers denoted by Zn from 1 to k is a function f such that f is from the set of natural numbers to complex numbers. That is, it is a function whose domain is the set of natural numbers between 1 and k and whose range is a subset of complex numbers. If k is infinity, then the sequence is called infinite and it is denoted by the sequence Zn ranging from 1 to infinity, or more often Zn. The notation f of n is equivalent. Having defined sequences and a means for measuring the distance between points, we proceed to define the limit of a sequence. A sequence of complex numbers Zn 1 to infinity is said to have a limit Z naught, or also we say that it converges to Z naught if for any epsilon greater than 0 there exists an integer capital N such that mod Zn minus Z naught is less than epsilon for all n greater than or equal to that capital N. I think this definition is familiar to you in real analysis, and we denote it by what? Limit n tends to infinity Zn is equal to Z naught, or Zn tends to Z naught as n tends to infinity. Geometrically, this amounts to the fact that it is the only point of Zn such that any neighborhood about it, no matter how small, contains an infinite number of points Zn. We say that the complex number W naught is the limit of the function f of z as z approaches z naught if f of z stays close to W naught whenever z is sufficiently near z naught. So, formally how do you define the limit of a function? So, it is the same way. Let f z be a function defined in some neighborhood of z naught, except with the possible exception of the point z naught. It is the number W naught if for any real number epsilon greater than 0, there exists a positive real number delta greater than 0 such that mod f z minus W naught is less than epsilon whenever 0 less than mod z minus z naught less than delta. So, these are all the formal definitions. So, let us interpret it. So, we can interpret this to mean that if we observe points z within a radius delta of z naught, we can find a corresponding disk about W naught such that all the points in the disk about z naught are mapped onto it. That is, any neighborhood of W naught contains all the values assumed by f in some full neighborhood of z naught, except possibly f of z naught. So, as you see, you will have to interpret in two parallel planes. One will be your z plane where your z naught lies. So, you consider a small delta neighborhood there for z naught. So, whichever points are contained inside it will be mapped to what? The points of a neighborhood of W naught and which will be lying in your W plane. So, these two planes have to be plotted simultaneously to understand the function what W is equal to f of z. So, now what are the properties of limits? If as z tends to z naught, limit f of z tends to a and limit g of z tends to b, then what is limit of f of z plus or minus g of z? It is nothing but a plus or minus b. Now, what happens to the limit of their product? Again it will be the product of their limits, and limit f z by g z will be what? A by b, but you have to check for the condition that b is not equal to 0. So, let us see what continuity is. So, we are going in the sequence, we have seen what is limit, now we are moving on to continuity. Let f of z be a function such that f from the set of complex numbers to complex numbers. We call f of z continuous at z naught if and only if f is defined in a neighborhood of z naught, the limit exists and the limit z tends to z naught, f of z is what? F of z naught. So, a function f is said to be continuous on a set S if it is continuous at each point of S. If a function is not continuous at a point, then it is said to be singular at that point. See, as you all know, continuity is a definition of a point. So, you always define continuity with respect to a point, and if this definition is satisfied for the entire set of points in a given set, you say it is continuous in the given set. One can show that f of z approaches a limit precisely when its real and imaginary parts approach limits, and the continuity of f z is equivalent to the continuity of its real and imaginary part. So, whenever I write f w is equal to f of z, you should always see that your left hand side w and the right hand side f of z both are having two parts. The left hand side is having u plus iv, a real and imaginary part, which will be functions of real variables x and y, and in the right hand side your z is again x plus iy having two parts x and y. X is the real part and y is the imaginary part. So, now if f z and g z are continuous at z naught, then so are f of z plus or minus g z and f of z into g z. The quotient f of z by g z is also continuous at z naught, provided that g of z naught is not equal to 0. Also, continuous functions map compact sets into compact sets. Okay. Now, you know what are limits, what are continuity, we will follow and we will define now what are derivatives. So, differentiation of a complex valued function, and it is completely analogous to the real case. Let f of z be a complex valued function defined in the neighborhood of z naught. Then the derivative of f of z at z naught is given by f dash of z naught limit delta z tends to 0 f of z naught plus delta z minus f of z naught by delta z, provided this limit exists, and then we say f of z is differentiable at z naught. So, here even though we have seen that it is analogous to the real case, where is the difference? The difference is when I say the limit exists in a real case, there are two ways for your delta x to move towards 0. It is either right hand from the right hand side or from the left hand side. So, accordingly what do you call those limits as? You call those limits as right hand side limit and the left hand side limit. And you say that the limit exists when both the limits coincide, but in this case what happens? When I say limit delta z tends to 0, where is this z lying? Z is lying in the two dimensional plane. So, it is having complete freedom to move in the two dimensional plane. So, this delta z can tend to 0 along any direction, along any line, along any curve in the two dimensional plane. So, irrespective of the path that it chooses to move towards 0, it has to be the same, then only you say that the limit exists. So, have you understood? So, this is the difference between your real definition and the complex definition, otherwise it looks absolutely the same. So, let us see some of the properties of derivatives. Again it is similar to what you have seen. F plus or minus of g dash of z naught, what is it? It is f dash of z naught plus or minus g dash of z naught. Now, some constant c f dash z naught, what is it? It is c times f dash of z naught, where c is a constant. Okay. So, f into g dash of z naught, what is it? Your product rule, f of z naught into g dash z naught plus f dash z naught into g z naught. Now, the quotient rule or else division rule, f by g dash of z naught, what is it? It is g of z naught into f dash of z naught minus f of z naught into g dash of z naught divided by g of z naught the whole square. Again check for the condition g of z naught not equal to 0. Now, function of a function or else what is it? The chain rule, d by dz of f of g of z naught, what is it? It is f dash of g z naught into g dash of z naught. This is what you call as chain rule. Now, let us conclude what all things what we have learned in this session. We have started with what complex variables are, how do you represent it graphically, then we have started with the calculus part of it, and for better understanding of it I have given you some basic definitions like open disk, the connected set. I know you are all familiar with these in the real case, but I have explained to you what is the difference in the real case and the complex case, even though the formula remains the same. We have seen the sequence, the limit of a sequence, and when does the limit exist, then continuity and the derivatives, definition and the properties of derivatives, which are all similar to the real, but try to understand the difference lie in that limit case. So, go through all these basic definitions what we have seen, and we can start with analytic functions, which is actually a little bit of differentiation, and we will see what the difference is. Thank you for watching with this session, and in the next session we will start with what? Analytic functions.